Yo. Senile old people, hopefully you'll get a heart attack for doing dumb things. That's definitely not appreciative. And overall, I'd say these comments are just, dog shit, so I wouldn't want my grandma seeing any of this. Let's see if I can clean this place up a little bit with a comment that's got some actual etiquette in it. Yo, I'm 90 and loving these monthly old people fails. Helps remind me that in their natural state, human beings can live to be 200 years old. But the Illuminati have capped it off through chemicals in the tap water and vaccines distributed to our children like the herd of cattle they are. Back in my day, the only needles going in our kids were sewing needles because they were all working in textile factories for dog shit pay and getting crushed to death by shoddy support beams because guess what? We let kids build the factories too. It was cheaper and that's how we liked it. Also, it was a white paradise. But my granddaughter says I can't talk like that in public. I knew a nun who would have beat the shit out of her snippy ass back in the day. Clint Eastwood's my favorite director, and give this comment a like if you can't take a shower alone anymore. And Clint Eastwood's my favorite director, and give this comment a like if you can't take a shower alone anymore. And post advertisement. Hey, take a look at the SalviEric.com store. We got this Cloud People poster. It's gonna scare your grandma back to health. Buy this for her without her knowing it. Go over her house, break in, put it on the wall, and watch her scream. Now, there's a lot of different kinds of grandmas out there, and any number of things can be wrong with them. Like this grandma, for instance, who looks, oh my god! Well, that got dark real quick. Of course, it happened in Russia. Luckily, we got a couple doctors in the comment section below to tell us what's wrong with this grandma. I know what he did is wrong, but why was she so close to him? Was she in a hurry? She was way too close. I would have rocked her ass too. I'll bet she'll back the fuck up next time. Awesome. Fuck the old rag. She was hella close though. Justified. She needs to back the fuck up and stop rushing people. He put that bitch to sleep? Look foul. Good for him, that old hag had it coming anyways. She old, just die. She looks freaking annoying, poor guy. He must have been frustrated that day. Well, you don't have to look too hard to see that nobody in this comment section knows how to appreciate a grandma. Let's fix that. Yo, one time I was in the checkout line at my local Kroger and some old lady wanted to get up in my shit, so I launched that bitch into the deli section. But because this isn't Russia, I was immediately arrested when everyone around me held me to the floor while screaming, "He just hit an old lady!" in between punches to my neck while I struggled to get free. I wound up in jail for assault, and the trial was pretty much open and shut because I was caught on video giving that old bat the uppercut of her life. Before this, she thought losing her son in Da Nang was the hardest blow she'd ever take. I guess basically what I'm saying is I wish I lived in Russia where you can do whatever the fuck you want, like knock out grandmas, build apartment buildings without regulations, and poison journalists. Hell, if I lived in Russia, I'd want to work as a building code official, because those guys seem to get paid for doing nothing. Inversely, the last thing I'd want to do is actually live in an apartment building in Russia. I mean, one good earthquake and America's coming over to drink up that oil, ha ha! At least that's what my grandma says. She doesn't trust those red fucks worth a damn.
Welcome, everybody.
Nice little song.
I got a little ditty here in my heart today. To the H3 podcast live. Live only on twitch.tv/H3H3 Productions. Today's episode is sponsored by Movement, NatureBox, MeUndies, and of course, Twitch Prime subscribers like you. Today we have the legendary Total Biscuit. And of course, for all my Ela Kleiners out there, the only and original Hula Kleiner. Next week, I'm excited that we have Dr. Disrespect here with us. If you don't know who that is, he's a really cool Twitch streamer who's really captured my attention. He's a pro gamer, but he's just super entertaining, interesting guy. So that should be a lot of fun. The week after that, I am excited. We have Jordan Peterson, right? The week after that. If you guys don't know who Jordan Peterson is, he's like a psychologist or something, but he's
a scholar.
He's a scholar.
He's a really smart guy.
If you guys want to know the schedule for upcoming episodes, go to our new Twitter account at the H3 Podcast, and we're going to be posting our live schedules there and upcoming guests. If you guys have questions for Dr. Disrespect, we'll put a thread up on the subreddit, so you can put them there. We forgot that today. And, okay, let's introduce our guest. Total Biscuit. A prolific video game critic, host, commentator, and legend in the video game world. He is the host of the popular podcast, The Co-Optional Podcast, on his YouTube channel and on Twitch here, Total Biscuit, the Cynical Brit. I've been a fan of this guy for a long, long time, ever before I ever even made a video on YouTube. I was obsessed with StarCraft 2, and that was how I found out about him, because he was a shoutcaster back then. Those were dark days for me, as Hila recalls. The push for masters consumed my whole life.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that when the man himself joins us. So please, if you would welcome Total Biscuit to the podcast.
Woo!
Come in, please. Have a seat. God bless you. Thank you. Thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure. What a wonderful little operation you've got going on here.
Thanks, dude.
Thank
I
you.
feel intimidated, frankly, now.
No.
It's like, oh, damn it, this is how it's supposed to be done, isn't it?
No, you want to lay down on the couch? We've got like a little therapy
No, I know what
session.
happens in Hollywood when that goes
Purple
down.
couch?
We don't
Shit.
know. We don't need any more of that. Thank you very
Serious.
much.
Well, I've been thinking,
Especially
you know,
not lately.
we're working on pitching a show, and I'm wondering, I have not raped enough people. I mean, so far I'm at 0.
Right. Well, I mean,
So-
it's a good number to be at. You know?
I'm just thinking, I don't know
If
if
you're
I'm going
looking
to
to
make
aspire
it.
to more, though, you know, it's the kind of thing you need to get started on earlier.
Okay, I'm behind. I got to bolster
Yeah,
my numbers.
exactly. You know,
Behind.
there's a lot of people in Hollywood that are just way ahead of the curve when it comes to that. And,
Absolutely.
Gotta get on with it.
How-
It's shocking.
Yeah, actually, let's just talk about that.
Sure,
Jesus
why
Christ,
not?
like-
Let's just get
like,
into something
let's just-
nice and easy. Yeah. Why does everybody rape everybody else in Hollywood? You know, that's a good question.
Well, I wasn't
Rape, what is it?
raped.
What's with it?
What's the deal? Well, I was kind of surprised, but it seems like this Harvey Weinstein thing has really brought out a lot of dirt, right?
It really does. Like, it seems like God knows how long this has been going on for, and people calling it an open secret. But how much of an open secret can it possibly be if this is what it took to get
Yeah.
people to really
Right.
talk about it? It's like this has obviously been going on for a long, long goddamn time.
Oh,
you know?
he's been at it for decades by
yeah,
the
of
sound
course.
of it.
Yeah, and he certainly
like-
can't be the only one.
It's completely blown my mind as I've seen the list of women, and not just like secretaries and colleagues, but like A-list, the biggest celebrities, female celebrities in the world are like, this guy sexually harassed me. I was like,
Yeah,
oh my god.
anyone you can ever think of. I mean, I read what Lena Headley said recently about it. Like, good lord, it's ridiculous. And you know, you even see people like Terry Crews coming out and saying, look, you know, there's a culture of this in Hollywood, and it applies to women and to men.
Kids.
Yeah.
That's the weird one.
Yeah.
I
mean,
saw today that Quentin Tarantino said, I knew enough to do something about it and I should have done something, and he's like regretting.
that's what a lot of people are saying. It's
Yeah.
like, I
You know-
should have done something about it. It's like, yeah. And I have to wonder, like, why didn't you? I can get why an aspiring actor
Well,
is
Quentin
in a
worked
position.
closely with him
Yeah.
on a lot of stuff.
It's
In a way, though, in a way, it's like, it's refreshing. I know he fucked up, right? But it's
Yeah.
refreshing to see someone being honest about, like,
Right.
I should have done
I knew
more.
about
yeah,
it.
exactly.
Nobody
That's a
else
good
is saying
thing.
that I.
Because that way it shows that it's actually a fucked up situation there, like more than you think. Because people know about it and let it happen.
Yeah,
you
they did.
know?
And you can understand it when it comes to an aspiring actor who's like, look, this is how it is. This is what I need to do to rise in the industry. But you're looking at people like Tarantino, you know, the kind of people who should be basically untouchable.
Yes.
Who were in a position to do something about it, didn't. You know, you got the whole
They're
act-
chums.
Yeah, they really are. You know, they're complicit by their silence.
If you're like good friend and colleague, is you see him every once in a while, like, you know, acting inappropriately. It's like, at what point do you be like, intervene? It's a sticky thing,
Yeah.
and I think most people didn't understand the depth of it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I heard anecdotes of women being like, him saying, "Don't tell your manager, don't tell your agent, don't tell anyone about this," and it's like, holy shit,
It's scary.
that's some rape,
Yeah.
some good certified rape.
Yep, a lot of that.
What do you think? Do you think that the power of the position made him more rapey, or do you think the position is what he was already a rapey guy, and the position of power is what attracted him to go there?
It's hard to say, isn't it? You know, there's the whole idea of absolute power corrupts absolutely, but there's got to be something wrong with you at some point, you know, because there's
Yeah.
got to be plenty of people that do not do that.
I'd like to think
Despite-
so.
You'd like to think and have a little bit
Yeah.
of faith in humanity left by the end of
I'd
the show,
like
right?
to hope
you know?
so, sure.
You'd like to think that there are not people that do that, despite having a position to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So, you know, it sounds like the guy was a piece of shit. And unfortunately got into a position where he could be a piece of shit to more people.
Yeah.
And then have other people cover his ass, which is in itself even more disgusting.
The fact that he could do it for so long and so consistently and just think that he was going to get away with it was pretty incredible.
Well, I mean, for how long did he?
did, yeah.
You know, he pretty much did. The culture of Hollywood enabled him to do it.
Well, then you go to the UK, and this shit is one of the most disturbing. The story of Jimmy Savile,
Oh, God.
who
yeah.
was
How-
on face value the creepiest looking person alive.
Do you pronounce it like Savile or
Savile.
Savile?
Yeah, Jimmy
I've
Savile.
said that wrong
Savile?
forever.
I heard it recently.
Yeah,
Savile.
definitely Jimmy Savile. But God,
Savile.
I mean, we all grew up knowing that guy because he was on our TVs.
Were
know,
you
he's-
creeped out by him as a kid, or did that
a
happen
little
after?
bit, a
Yeah.
little bit. There's always something a little bit off about him. But
Yeah, he,
I mean, I'm going to pull up a picture for those of you who don't know, but this guy, well, this guy was a child entertainer beloved by the whole country.
So, yep.
And basically, immediately,
looked like that.
I mean, look at this guy fucks kids.
well,
It's
Now-
more
now
than
it's
that,
no.
you know. He's beaten raped a 12-year-old girl during a secret satanic ritual. Now, this is a guy that
Oh,
wore
That's-
little red spectacles and had a giant cigar in his mouth, like he was a larger-than-life children's entertainer. And apparently he did that. And he also chanted Hail Satan. Bear in mind, this is on the Express. That's not a tabloid. Like, that's a real newspaper in the UK that's
Talking about
relatively
satanic
well respected, telling us that
child
Jimmy
rape.
Savile was involved in a satanic child rape
you know what he wrote
scenario.
on his tombstone that was really disturbing? It was fun while it lasted.
God damn it. It's-
That's so. Anyway, as soon as this guy passed away, apparently all of a sudden
All of
everyone's
it.
like, "Oh yeah, that was the most evil man alive." But he never had.
No one
he
ever
got
said-
his whole life.
Yeah, no one
Without
ever
ever
said that while
facing
he was
him
because
alive.
he was
No,
so
he was
famous,
untouchable.
yeah.
He's goddamn untouchable.
yeah.
Yeah, as I say, I was in the era of kids that grew up watching that guy, and we'd have never considered that. Apparently, we're all really bad judges of character.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Well,
Oh, well.
any,
Nice
hey,
bright start to the
cheery,
show,
cheery
innit? Yeah,
stuff.
indeed.
So I want to start by talking to you about. Well, I found you through my love of StarCraft 2, and I love that you're wearing the StarCraft 2 hat.
Yeah, there's got to be someone that continues to represent that game. God
Yeah.
knows nobody else does.
Well, I stopped watching a long, long time ago. I mean, I must have stopped playing and watching it it must have been 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
At least, or it was before we even got married, so it must have been over 5 years ago. But I found you through my love for that game, and it's just really surreal to be sitting with you now. Because I was making videos, or I was not
We
making
were.
videos.
Yeah, you
I didn't
were.
even
Yeah.
think about making
Yeah,
videos
you know,
back
you
then.
started in the grand scheme of YouTube. You know,
Yeah.
you started relatively recently.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
that's
didn't
true,
even
yes.
know back then. We didn't even know that there are YouTubers in the world.
Yeah, kind of. That's kind of true, yeah. But now I just want...
Some of us like to call the shots. Some of us want to get in there and kick ass. There's a champion inside you, ready to go ham. Let him out.
YouTubers in the world.
Yeah, kind of. That's kind of true, yeah. But now I just want to... Because I had kind of a falling out with StarCraft.
Yeah.
And
Like
I-
a lot of people did at some point.
I'm just wondering, like, do you think that game was the rightful successor to Brood War and Warcraft 3 and the large, like, the legacy that Blizzard had built with,
Strategy games in
competitive
general, yeah.
RTS games?
I mean, I think it was, but I think like StarCraft 2 is very much a 2010 game in 2017, and it's the kind of thing that if they took another look at it and took another swing at it, they probably would not have made the game they did, you know. But back then, that was absolutely the right game to make. And if you go back to Brood War in particular, and you can try that now with the remastered version, you can see how goddamn hard that game is. It's impossible, basically. It's impossible to play well. And a lot of people have fond memories of Warcraft 3, but they probably have fond memories of the campaign, and customs, and playing Dota, and Wintermore, and Tower Defense. They don't have fond memories of playing competitive 1 versus 1, you know? And if they did, they'd know that that game was just as hard.
Right.
So it's it's about making a game that has like seemingly infinite depth, and then trying to get people to continue to play something like that in 2017. That's really hard to do. I mean, Dota and LoL are still really hard games, right?
Yeah.
But the barrier to entry is kind of a lot lower. You just got to control one dude, make him do a few different things, not a whole freaking army. I mean, someone described StarCraft recently as, I think, you're the commander, but you're also the troop trainer, the logistician, the guy who orders the ration packs, the guy who orders the spare underwear for the soldiers. Like, you're everything. You're micromanaging every tiny little part of everything in that game. And it's too much for the vast majority of people. And I don't blame people in the slightest for that.
Interestingly, I found StarCraft 2 to be probably the best spectator experience I ever had from an esport perspective.
Surprisingly good for that. Like, people maybe who've never watched it before think that it's a really complicated thing, but I always liken it to this idea of kind of watching a sports game, like a field game, like football, from up above, right? You know, you might not know a damn thing about football, but you know if that team is on the other team's side and has the ball, they're probably doing pretty damn well, right? I think that's very similar with StarCraft. You know, you got your red guy and your blue guy. Your blue guy's got a big army in red guy's territory, and stuff's exploding. You know, he's probably doing pretty well. I think that's actually surprisingly easy to understand. And then you throw a couple of good broadcasters on
the broadcasting scene was great. I
think it still is for the guys who are still around. You know, a lot of people went and did other things, but we've got some old school guys who are just very, very good at their jobs. You know?
So I wonder, is it the fate of every esport to eventually fizzle out and be replaced by something else?
I think so.
Will there ever be a game that has this long-standing stature of one of these classic world sports?
I don't think it's ever going to happen, right? Like, there's too many games that follow trends. If you look at, you know, the way PUBG works right now, right, and the huge swell of interest in PUBG and battle royale games, and you think, right, well, there's going to be an esports scene about this, because it's even if it's a weird thing to make an esports game of, it's too popular not to, right?
Sure.
It's like Hearthstone. It's like Hearthstone's garbage for esports. It's like flipping a coin and then giving someone $100,000. But so many people want to watch it anyway that they made a scene out of it.
Do you think games like that harm the overall goal of esports?
I don't think so. Like, I think you can watch anything competitively as long as you're having fun watching it and people having fun playing it, then it's totally fine.
Because when you think about esports, you think of like everything, right?
Yeah.
But how do you get it to be taken more seriously?
I mean, I think it already is. Like, if you look at what's happening, like with Overwatch League, $20 million buy-in, and the people have actually bought into it from the NFL, from the NBA. Stuff just happened with League a few days ago where a bunch of popular teams got kicked out because they all agreed to do franchising for the LCS, which is the big League of Legends league. And there's guys from the NFL and the NBA buying in with millions and millions of dollars. They're taking this stuff seriously. And even if you've got a bunch of games that do that, like, it's almost, you know, just like real sports. You've got your big sports, and then you've got stuff that maybe 100 people watch. And they're still a sport, and some people still enjoy them. And, you know, if 100 people watch StarCraft in 5 years, then 100 people watch StarCraft in 5 years. But they're still having fun with it. You can make a competitive scene out of pretty much anything. You just got to have people passionate, you know. Ask the older Age of Empires guys. They're still playing.
That's incredible.
Yeah, they're still playing. That stuff still happens. So. I think it'll be around forever, but as to how viable it remains as an esport, it's going to depend on how long the money keeps flowing in. You know, once that stops, then it becomes an amateur sport. There's nothing to keep people playing full time.
So do you think that esports are headed generally in the right direction? And like, where would you see it in the next 10 years going?
I mean, it's frankly the way esports are going right now is scaring the shit out of me.
Why?
Like, especially with the LCS thing over the last few days, you know.
Can you explain that?
So I've been out of the league scene for like a few years, so it's going to be a real layman's explanation. So people will no doubt point out that I'm wrong on a few things, but the basic level of it is that for LCS, they had a bunch of teams in there.
What is the LCS?
So the LCS is the main League of Legends league, right? League of Legends Championship Series, like, and they've got their big Worlds event, which is going on right now, which is their World Championships, where all the teams from the different regional LCS get together and America loses and Korea wins. But in the case of LCS, they agreed to do franchising, and a bunch of popular teams just lost their position in the league, and a bunch of guys just came in. And it was based on decisions other than how good they were. It was based on like how financially solvent the organization was. Like guys coming in from the NBA
who made that decision?
with big money. It was Riot. The game developers made that decision. So there's a team called Immortals that has a really, you know, they were very successful. They were doing really well in the LCS. They were winning a lot of games. They just lost their position in the league because apparently they have put a ton of money into this new Overwatch League, which by all accounts is a $20 million buy-in. Like, it's massive. And Riot was concerned that the Immortals team is based out of LA. Riot is also based out of LA. And they have a lot of investments into Overwatch. And they're thinking, well, we don't know exactly why they weren't allowed into the league, but there might be concerns that they've spent too much money somewhere. Like, that's all venture capital.
They see them as like investing in a competitor.
They could. There's been some speculation about that because of their in Owl, stupid name, Overwatch League. They like the teams are not going to be named like Immortals. They're going to be named after the city they're based in and the franchise they bought. Right. So this is the LA franchise.
Right.
So Riot's based in LA. They might be a bit uncomfortable about that, but they might also be uncomfortable about the idea that they've just spent a bunch of venture capital and they might not make it back. So they're thinking about the financial solvency of this team, and they're like, well, what if a team in our LCS goes insolvent? That's really shitty for the LCS. And if you look at that, it's like, this is big businessmen and big money taking over what was very much a grassroots thing.
Right.
And has been a grassroots thing really up until the last couple of years.
So,
It's
but
scary.
is that a good direction? Because if you look at the
it's a natural
NFL, you look at
progression, right?
baseball, you look at basketball, whatever. This is like, I was watching a news report or listening to something about like how Americans spend their money. I mean,
Yeah.
sports is like the sports industry is huge. It's
Absolutely.
the enormous money, right? So in a way, it's natural and maybe good. I don't know.
It could very well be good. You know, it's that money might bring stability. It's hopefully going to bring some mainstream recognition. It's going to bring facilities, stadiums. Hopefully, we'll also see a lot of the shady shit that's been happening in esports the last 10 years disappear as a result of pros coming in.
What
But-
kind of shady shit?
Like cheating.
I mean, I know there's like,
Have you got
what comes
10
to mind?
hours?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
No, what's like the spiciest to come to mind for people who are listening who don't know anything about esports? Like, I think it's interesting just to get in because everyone
mean,
understands how sports work. But this is
goddamn
kind of
it.
different and weird.
So much. There's the small stuff like players not getting paid by their teams, all the way up to shit like there was a literal fake tournament. I think it was in Malaysia. It's called the PPSL.
That
And
is
like
crazy.
there were guys that flew out for this event and then got mugged and had their passports stolen.
What?
Yeah, there's some crazy
That's
shit.
spicy.
Oh, there's
Oh my
some
God.
crazy stuff going on that happened with StarCraft, that's happened with Counter-Strike and everything as well. And a lot of this is because these
no.
organizations are run by the scam artists, amateurs, you know? There's
Sure.
been tons of StarCraft players that were brought onto teams that just, the guy just disappeared. Out of nowhere. I think, can't remember the name of the organization, but there was a guy who just vanished overnight. Like, the player was asking, well, where's our money? Where's our money? He disappeared, and later it was rumored that he'd had a heart attack and died. But then there was a photo that appeared like a year later on Facebook of the guy. It appeared to be just living it up in like
He's with
Taiwan
Sudan. Yeah.
or something. It's
wow.
nuts, like, because there's no regulation.
Right.
Like, you can, any old huckster can come in and do whatever the hell they like.
Interesting.
So it's a mess. So maybe this will help, but also, you know, if you've got any ideas about growing a little, you know, community-supported team, a grassroots team, that's going right out the window when stuff like Overwatch League is asking for $20 million to buy in. It's never
Sure.
going to happen anymore,
Yeah.
is it? You know, it's
I
going to be
wonder-
guys that are already established.
I wonder if, like, I think, like, basketball and baseball in their infancy probably went through something
Probably, yeah.
very similar.
Yeah, and I imagine they also had their corruption scandals and all sorts of shit that
Absolutely.
happened there too.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll see it. We'll definitely see
So
it.
what do you see as the greatest hurdles and challenges facing esports now?
I mean, I think it's going to come down now to, can you get enough viewership to actually finance the amount of money they're throwing at it?
Right.
Yeah, because they're seeing big growth in the future. They're seeing enough growth to get a venture capitalist to throw $20 million at a team.
Yeah.
They're seeing enough growth for an NBA owner to own a team, pay money. Question is, which game are they going to invest in? Because right now, they're throwing money at the Overwatch League.
Is that the big one right now?
That's the big one they think. Bear in mind, this hasn't even happened yet.
Right.
Like, they've been over the past year trying to make this league happen, getting people to buy in, buy these franchises for
Right.
different cities around the world,
Yeah.
because they believe that people are going to cheer for their home team, even in esports. Like,
That's a really interesting idea.
yeah, it
Of
is.
local
yeah.
franchises? I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty spicy.
But will it work? I mean, we don't know.
I don't know.
And
Yeah,
is
I really don't
Overwatch
know.
even a game that people want to watch
Yeah, I
in
don't
large enough
know.
numbers to make that money back? I find it a really hard game to watch. I think it's messy.
I
think-
can't watch it.
It's too much color all over the
I
place.
can't watch
I
it.
felt the same way, even though I love Dota. I clocked 2,000 hours on it. I
Yeah.
hated it as a spectator sport. It's too messy.
Yeah, it took me a while to really be able to watch Dota. I had the same problem with League earlier on with League. It was super colorful, but they're toning that down a bit, you know?
I think one of the big challenges facing esports is like, do you make a game that's great to play and competitive and strategic, or do you make a game that's good to watch? And are those things
Sometimes it's
are at
hard to
conflict,
do both.
right?
Yeah. Sometimes it just takes a lot of work. And
It's
remember when,
tricky.
remember when CS:GO first came out? It was garbage, both to play and to watch. Now it's so good to watch.
Yeah.
Like it's
I
so
agree.
crisp and clean. You can easily see. Anybody can see what's going on, even if you don't understand CS:GO. You know,
Yeah.
guy caps
Yeah.
4 dudes in the head with a pistol.
great.
It's
It's
impressive.
obvious, obviously
I
impressive.
think that's a
you know?
great example.
That's me, because Ethan will play all these games, and I don't. So a lot of times I'll sit with him and I watch.
Yeah.
And I can tell you some games are really fun to watch, even if I don't understand the game.
It's important that the skill is apparent
Yes.
to a layman,
Right.
right?
Has to be
Yeah.
readily apparent,
And
and
I-
that's what's going to make them big. You know
Right.
that's what's going to make the money that these guys want, the kind of level of cash
Right.
flow that they need to make this
know,
big.
I
Is
think-
Overwatch the game for that? I don't think it is. No.
I think I actually, now that you've said that, I think Counter Strike is the only competitive game where
I'd
you can
agree.
you can see the skill
Yeah.
and the play.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's maybe other stuff to some extent like Rocket League. You know, I think that makes sense to a lot of people, but I don't think it's.
Yeah,
it's
maybe.
I think that game's probably hit its ceiling already.
I-
you know?
I
it's not
agree.
going to go super huge, but CS:GO's still growing.
You know what? That's fun. I think Counter Strike is the one game
That
that's
game
been
is
around
pretty awesome.
forever.
Yep.
It was the first multiplayer game I played over the internet.
Yeah.
I played on dial-up modem, and it's still.
Oh, really?
Still the king.
I don't know if you were sharing this experience, but I used to play on dial-up modem.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody had DSL.
Yep.
And we all had like 300 ping, and then all of a sudden these sons of bitches show up with like 150,
Ah,
and we
it
called them
sucks.
low ping bastards.
Yeah.
Because it's basically like cheating.
Yeah, I
at
mean,
that
we
point.
set up a server where we
Yeah.
banned people that had too low a ping.
Like fuck off.
It's like, no way, that's unfair. I remember upgrading from a 33.6 to a 56k modem,
Yeah,
and I was like,
yeah.
look at me, I am fucking amazing. And it's like, no, it's just still terrible, but
Yeah.
you could download those images at like 5 or 6 kilobytes a second instead of 3 to 4, you know, it's good shit.
Technology.
Yeah, it was amazing.
So I think Counter Strike might be the golden child.
Yeah, I think it is. The weird thing about Counter-Strike is, will a game about shooting people in the head make it the mainstream, like as an esport? Because
Well,
there might be
it's-
some
yeah.
some opposition to that, you know?
That's
Well, football, these guys are literally killing each other.
right.
True.
This is a virtual
Wait,
killing
what
each
about
other.
like fighting? Like,
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe the acceptance of
wrestling.
MMA. I mean,
Yeah.
you're still not capping people in the head with a Desert Eagle, but you know, yeah, there's probably some
But-
more acceptance for a
but
bit
those
more
are real
Bloodsport.
people.
Yeah, I know. The problem
video
is,
It's huge.
yeah, it's when you.
I see what you mean, though.
It'll-
And
yeah, it's
generally,
just, you know, it's just general acceptance. We're still in a
Yeah.
place where people are blaming video games for stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the NRA brought that up recently about the Vegas shooting. Yeah, sure, like a 60-year-old guy. The reason he did that was because he played Counter
is that
Strike.
how they're deflecting these days?
That's the NRA every time, you know.
I love
They'll
it.
just toss
Video
that
games in
stuff
real
out
life, not in or you can have 50 rifles in real life, but you can't use them in video games. Apparently.
there. Yeah,
So I recall you saying that you owned a esports
I
team in
did for a
South
while.
Korea.
Yeah, for about 2 years. Yeah.
What did you learn about esports by owning a team?
It's very expensive. That's probably the first one.
How? Like, because it seems like
Yeah,
a
like-
low-cost thing. What cost you money?
So we had a team house
Right.
that was based in Seoul, Korea. Seoul is not a cheap place to live.
Sure.
So we needed to locate it relatively close to the studio where these guys were playing the Global StarCraft League, which was the big Korean league at the time. You've got to obviously pay a monthly salary, upkeep on the house. So
What do you pay those guys?
I mean, at the time it was like, you know, anywhere between $1,000 to $1,500 a month. Like, not
So
a
it
lot.
adds, it
you
adds
know?
up though when you have like 10 guys.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you don't need that many for like StarCraft because it's not a team-based game, but you need enough people together that they can practice together and be good. So, like, at the time we had 6 players on our team, so that was costing a bunch of salary alone. It's not too bad to hire them for that at that time because they're not paying for food, they're not paying for rent. You know, so these are guys who haven't gone to university yet or are delaying university. They're just doing stuff before their military service, really.
Right.
So they don't really need a lot of money.
In
but
Korea,
then,
you have the mandatory.
yeah, mandatory
2
military
or 3
service for 2
years.
years, yes. So most of our guys had actually already done it. We had like some older players. But they were fine on that because, of course, you know, we gave them 100% of the prize money. So it's a very like, you know,
Okay.
if they win 10 grand in a tournament, then
That's sweet.
that, you know, that's some
So
sweet
where did
cash.
you make money from
Yeah, where would
sponsors?
you-
Sponsors, yeah. We had a few sponsors. Like, did we ever break even? Barely. Like, you know, I must have tossed $250,000 into that hole.
And you broke
Really?
even,
Eventually.
but probably with a lot of work at the point where you're like this.
Yeah, I mean, it was a massive time sink. I mean, even just booking flights and hotels for these guys to go to international tournaments,
Right.
bearing in mind you're dealing with people that didn't speak a lot of English.
Yes.
You know, even their passports, they have their names backwards. We had God knows how many problems with that. It's like, oh, we can't get on the plane because the ticket says, you know, it's got the order on a Korean passport is like something like surname first, then middle name combined with first name. Or something like that. So they're
Right.
like, this isn't the same person. Like, it is. They just write it differently.
Right.
So there was all of that crap. And, well, you know, it adds up real quick, you
Right.
know, and trying to find enough sponsors that will pay you enough money. And then, of course,
Sure.
it comes down to, are my guys on big stages where they're getting a lot of publicity, are they winning? And more often than not, no, they weren't.
It's hard to get those really good guys because you got to pay them more, they expect more, right?
And even then, the best player in StarCraft 2 isn't winning all his matches, you know?
Yeah, of
a
course.
champion often goes into a slump. Like,
I
let's
know-
take Beyond, 2016,
Yeah.
world champion. He has not won a major tournament this whole year.
The thing that I noticed about StarCraft, having been a big fan, the most popular players were popular because of their personality and not
Back in
really
the
at all
day,
to
yeah.
do. Like you had
Idra,
Idra,
Naniwa.
these guys were not like on Korean
That's
mode.
the
No,
guy
they're
that
not
I
close.
remember,
Yeah.
Idra.
They're all gone now, though. You know,
Yeah.
because they couldn't keep up, and now you know there are some foreign players who've got really good. Like Neeb has won a Korean tournament. He's the first foreigner to do it in like 11 years.
There was that French guy, Stefan.
Stefano, yeah.
I was a fan.
I
Uh-huh.
remember that guy
He was a
too.
party guy.
I mean,
let me put it that way.
I was a Zerg player. He was good. That's all I cared about.
He won tournaments. He could beat
Yeah,
Koreans,
it was
and he had a
pretty sick.
personality.
Yeah.
Like I think that's one of the major problems we might have right now is that a lot of those guys retired. You know, and the best players are still in Korea, and it's hard to give a personality to someone that doesn't speak English.
You know, it's another big obstacle. It's like when you're good at video games between like 15 and 20.
Yep, especially StarCraft.
Like
you got to be so
yeah.
fast.
Like you have arthritis after like
Oh,
a
yeah.
day of playing.
Terran exploding wrist
Yeah.
syndrome. You know, people that used to play Terran, they'd have to have wrist surgery at like age 22 because their right wrist would be so busted up.
In basketball, for example, you can have someone who's 35 years old and crushing it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But
But I guess that happens in all kinds of professions, like models. They can
Yeah,
only.
you've got an age cap on it,
Yeah.
definitely.
But generally in sports, I think people have longer careers, and I think that's important to sustaining it because you need
Yeah.
a cult of personality. You need someone to follow, grow with, right?
Yeah, you
like
gotta be able to
Jordan,
build that
Kobe.
brand.
These guys played for 20, 30 years,
Yeah.
and they held people's attention for all that time.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard when you have a guy who plays for 3 years and then
and then it's
disappears.
gone.
And vanishes, yeah. You know, like just like everyone you just mentioned, you know, they don't play anymore. It's just not the lifespan on them. And even the old school guys like Afia for Dota, you know, he's pretty much retired now. Like he can't keep up. It's not a viable career path for most people. Like I'd never recommend it to anybody.
Right.
It's like, don't, no.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, let's take a quick break to thank our sponsors. I am going to use the restroom and take care of some business, but we have got a lot of spicy, interesting stuff to talk about. So please do not go away. Something terrible will happen. I don't know what. Does that work? Is that funny?
Yeah, I like it. I think
Yeah,
it
does
works.
that work?
You know, I find like threatening your
Yeah.
viewers generally a pretty good idea.
Get
you
it?
know?
Threats and like superstition. Something awful is guaranteed to happen to you if you switch off. So please stay tuned, and we will be right back. Thank you to Movement, the incredible watchmakers. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Wow. Elegance embodied in a watch. Movement was founded on the belief that style shouldn't break the bank. The watchmaker's goal is to change the way consumers think about fashion by offering high-quality, minimalist products at a revolutionary price. This price is changing the world, just like George Washington did when he crossed the Delaware. This is the George Washington of watches. With over 1 million watches sold to customers in 160,000 countries around the world, Movement MVMT Watches has solidified itself as the fastest growing company. Just like the United States manifest destiny. It was our destiny to take over every plot of land in this country from sea to sea, so is it Movement's destiny to completely destroy the competition in the watch game, right, Hila?
And please don't forget that they're also destroying the Screwdriver game.
Oh, that's true. What did it includes?
My favorite screwdriver.
Look at this. This is unbelievable. Like I like to joke, they're selling adorable screwdrivers that come with watches as accessories. Listen, this watch is insane. I walk around, I get underwear thrown at me. People look at me, and I can tell. I'm like, oh my God, am I having a good hair day or something? And then I'm like, oh, they're just looking at my watch. So, this watch is awesome. And the price is incredible. These watches start at $95. At a department store, you're looking at $400 to $500 for a comparable watch. Incredible. Listen, Movement figured out that by selling online, they were able to cut out the middleman and retail mark up by providing, and they provide the best possible price. They've got classic design, construction. And if you go to mvmt.com/h3, you get 15% off with free shipping and free returns. If you're trying to classy up your look, you need some gear, go there. Go to mvmt.com/h3. You will not be disappointed with this wonderful, high quality, sleek, and it also comes with a great little screwdriver that like the watch gets them to your house, the screwdriver seals the deal. You're like, hey baby, check out what I've got.
Next.
Let me see that chastity belt. I'll tinker that right open. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, thank you to the Movement MVMT for supporting it. If you're in the market for a watch, please support, help, please consider supporting us by supporting them. God bless America. Next up, this is possibly the best coffee I've ever gotten in my time here. MeUndies, friend of the show, benefactors, wonderful people. They make the softest underwear, socks, shirts, hoodies. They make it soft, just like your heart, you softie. But here's what so MeUndies makes underwears your butt will be proud to wear. And check this out. We're not the only ones who love MeUndies. Listen to what this sweet young man, Christian, had to say. This is a note from Ryan. Wait, yeah, this is Ryan. Sorry, that's not Christian. This is Ryan Childers, an H3 listener and MeUndies fan. Now they're like, here, this is the best comment that one of your fans said. Just read this. This is the best endorsement for this product you can get. When I first heard Ethan read a MeUndies ad, I thought it was an Irish person trying to say MeUndies. MeUndies. However, after reading many online reviews about how soft and comfortable they were, I decided to finally pull the trigger because I wanted a pair of those life-changing undies. When I slipped on my first glorious pair of MeUndies, I felt like the clouds had parted in the sky and a beam of light illuminated straight up my ass. He actually said up my rear end, but I'm dramatizing it a little bit. They were so comfortable that I knew that the world would never be the same again. Because of MeUndies, my ass is a whole lot happier. To Ethan and Yela, that's me and you. Thank you for doing such a great job and for sharing your sick memes with listeners like me. Well, thanks for that. Appreciate that. And I actually fully endorse that. I mean, listen, I plan to have kids someday. I got to cradle the junk with the best possible.
That was a great comment, by the way.
Yeah, that was really nice.
Mr. Ryan or Christian?
That was written by Ryan Childers.
So who's Christian?
Christian is God. Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah, he's watching. He's a MeUndies fan as well. Rumor has it that the robes he was crucified in were made of modal. Modal. That's why he came back. He's like,
go to Jesus.
There's no MeUndies in heaven.
MeUndies.com/GSUS. Jesus.
Jesus. Listen, my friends, to get 20% off the best and softest underwear and socks you will ever own with free shipping and 100% satisfaction guarantee. That means if you don't like it, send it back. You get your money back. Go to MeUndies.com/H3. That is MeUndies.com/H3. Pick up a pair, you won't regret it. Thank you for supporting us. And finally, Nature Box. These guys have figured out the snack game. We all eat snacks. If you look like Hila, you're skinny. If you're voluptuous and thick like me, we all eat snacks. We all love snacks. Well, guess who does it better than anyone? NatureBox, okay? We all want to eat better, but when it comes to snacks, sometimes it feels like the whole world is delicious and a billion calories versus boring and tasteless. Doesn't have to be that way. Up your snack game with NatureBox. They've got 100 snacks that taste good and are actually better for you. All the snacks are made from high ingredients, simple ingredients, which means no artificial colors, flavors, or sweeteners, so you can feel good about what you're eating. You scroll their website, it's a joy. You start salivating. Top sellers. Probiotic Power Mix. That means it makes you, I think we spoke about that, but probiotic, it's like good bacteria for your asshole.
Mm-hmm.
It's powerful stuff. There's a lot of science going on about probiotics these days. They
Yeah,
think
I
that
know.
that's the real cutting edge of health. I could probably step up my probiotic game. I'm surprised that dried mango is the most popular, to be frank, but hey, if that's what you're into, I'd skip right past that and go to the sriracha roasted cashews. That's my jam. You try those, it's a little spicy, a little sweet, a little salty, forget about it, okay? But whatever it is, you're sure to find your new snack obsession at NatureBox. They add new snacks every month, inspired by feedback and the latest food trends and professional chefs, guys. It's so simple. Go to naturebox.com, choose the snacks you want, and they'll deliver them right to your goddamn door. There's no risk. If you don't like it, don't eat it. They'll replace it for free. So listen, go right now to naturebox.com/H3. Get 50% off your first order when you go to naturebox.com/H3. That's 50%. Half off. Do the math. It's unbelievable. naturebox.com/H3. You're not going to regret it. So thank you to our sponsors. If you're in the market for a watch, some underwear that's comfortable as ever, and some wonderful, healthy, and delicious snacks, consider supporting our sponsors to help support the show. And now, let us return with your boy, Total Biscuit. Welcome back, everybody, to the H3 Podcast with Total Biscuit. When I had Video Game Donkey on last week,
Yeah.
and I asked him, what does he think the state of gaming is in? And he said he thinks it's better than it's ever been. How do you feel about that? Do you agree?
I think there's a lot of things you can point to that will support that opinion, and then there's a bunch of other stuff that you can point to that says, God, this is getting worse. Like, 2017's been such an amazing year for games. You think about it, like, every other week there seems to be something coming out that's just top-notch shit, whether it's AAA or indie or somewhere in between. But on the flip side of that, you've got maybe the most insidiously creepy, awful year when it comes to companies trying to really push the boat out in terms of how much they can milk out of you.
Right,
and
right.
shit they put in games that just takes you out of the experience and interferes with it. You know, you got Battlefront on the way, where they said, yeah, all of the progression is in loot boxes. All
Didn't
of
they
it.
already ruin that game once?
But yeah, they did with the last one.
They're doing it
It was
again.
terrible, and they're doing it a second time. You know, the
Yeah.
sad thing is the gameplay is a little bit better this time, but they've ruined everything else by saying, hey, yeah, let's have all progression. You know, what the hell was wrong with, like, COD 4 and the way the progression worked there? They gave you a few good guns right off the bat, and then you could get some other stuff that was,
Yeah.
like, personal preference. It was fine. And now it's like, well, we want everyone to get random shit through boxes. No, the stuff you want, no. You've got to get more boxes to get the stuff you want. You've got to, or craft it. The next person to say craft something in a video game, I just want to strangle them. It's not crafting. It's a pile of fucking random ass currency that you come up with. It's like, you're not crafting anything. You're just clicking a button.
You're crafting $1.25 out of your wallet
Indeed.
into
There's no
a couple pixels.
creativity in it, you know.
It's crafting, dude.
Yeah,
We've got a
crafting.
question from Single Mom 95 that is related to this. Single Mom, are you there? And I love that name, by the way, too. You're not a mom.
God, we've been bamboozled.
We've been trolled. What's your question, bud?
So it's for TB. First up, congrats on 10 years of Mr. and Mrs. Bane.
Indeed. Thank you very much.
yeah,
As of today,
congratulations.
does it
By the
happen?
way,
Yeah.
today
10
is your
year wedding
10-year
anniversary.
anniversary. You're spending it with us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yikes.
There's probably be some rumors circulating about
I'm
that.
embar- I mean, I'm-
Nah, don't worry. We're going to Vegas on Thursday.
I'm not
We're all
worthy.
good. My marriage is fine. Okay.
I'm
It's
not
good.
worthy to be taking up
But
your time today.
congratulations.
Yeah,
on that.
congratulations.
That's
Appreciate that.
amazing.
Anyway, single mom,
So my question for you, sir, is now that we're seeing an increase in microtransactions, loot boxes, paywalled content, what can we do as consumers to combat this?
God, it's a hard question
Cool.
because.
Thanks for the question.
Sorry.
Thank you very much. It was a good
Appreciate
question. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So, the first instinct of anyone is saying, well, we should stand up as consumers and boycott things. And then you realize that makes not a damn bit of difference because Battlefront, as shit as that was, sold 12 million copies.
Are you freaking
Yeah.
kidding?
It's terrible.
That's
It's
a really
unbelievable, isn't it?
shocking.
Yeah. And this one will probably sell a bunch as well. And we really can't make much of a difference in that regard, right? But I'll tell you this for a fact. What shareholders in these large
You
companies
can move it forward
really,
towards you a little bit.
really, I
There you
keep
go.
forgetting it's 7B. It needs to be in my face. There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
What shareholders of large companies really, really don't like is a ton of negative online publicity. They don't want to be seeing that kind
Right.
of thing. And AAA are beholden to the shareholders. So when things like the loot box controversy around Battlefront came out, you can bet your ass there's a few shareholders at EA saying, why are there all these negative news articles about this game you're making?
Why does their game on Steam have 30% like?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why are all the reviews in the toilet for this? Why is our Metacritic rating tanked because of all of this stuff? They do care about that.
Why is our Metacritic rating only a 90 or a 85?
Yeah, indeed. Well, let's cancel bonuses of the team. Let's fire the dev team as well. Obviously, it's
But
useless.
hasn't that been happening forever where these games, like if you go to Metacritic, well, they always have like 90s no matter what, but the user
But the user review will
is
be
like
down.
in the
yeah.
tank.
They call it meta bombing. I think
meta
is the na-
bombing.
yeah, that's the name of it. Just review bombing in general as well. And
But that's been happening, and it doesn't seem to have dissuaded companies like EA.
I think
Has
I think it has slowed them down. Like
Okay.
EA had to make a statement a couple of days ago, backpedaling some of the loot box stuff
Hmm.
for Battlefront. Did they fix it? No. Is it better than it was? Yes. Maybe they fix it more if there's more pressure applied. The problem is you could get every like hardcore guy that listens to this show, reads all of these forums to boycott a game, and then everyone else just goes out and buys it anyway who isn't
Sure.
included into
Yeah.
that shit.
Yeah.
So really, all you can do is make a bunch of noise
Right.
and say, look, this is unacceptable. This is nonsense. Go write a forum post about it. Go
Right.
make a negative review for the game if you truly believe it actually makes a difference. Like it's depressing because you think, well, I can't do anything, and like you're
think-
probably right.
I think it does do something.
I think it does make
think
a
it
difference.
It takes some time.
Yeah.
You don't see it immediately, but maybe like within a year, it does do something.
Well, I can tell you from my point, when I go and when I consider buying a game, I'll briefly look at the reviews, and if I see that, I'm passing.
Yeah, and some people will as well, and it's
Yeah.
great when people do that. And I think your point was really valid when you said maybe it doesn't happen overnight. Well,
Yeah.
maybe the next game, or maybe the thing they do in a year's time, maybe there's a change there, or who knows how much worse it would be if people hadn't made a noise.
Right.
That's true.
We might have reached this point years and years ago if people hadn't been resisting it. It sucks to be in this constant state of feeling like your hobby is getting ruined by some assholes in a fucking boardroom,
Yeah.
and you have to constantly yell and be angry about things because it's fucking exhausting. We just want to sit down and play video games, man.
Is there any great games that are doing it right?
I think there's actually more that are doing it right than are doing it wrong. Like the news gets covered with all this negativity, but
Who's doing it great right now?
I mean, if you look at, say, the company that brought out Hellblade, right? Like Ninja Theory, they made Hellblade, a game that looks incredible. It looks like a AAA title. They released the thing for $30, single player only, no microtransactions,
called?
no DLC. It's called Hellblade.
Hellblade, go buy
Yeah.
that game.
And it's incredible. And you think, right, they made that on their own, without a publisher, with no bullshit. It got really well reviewed and it sold really well. Look at Cuphead. Sells 1 million copies in a week.
Unbelievable.
Cuphead
yeah.
looks so good.
Yeah, that game's really cool, actually.
so beautiful.
Look at stuff like that. But the thing is, the stuff maybe not as incredible as stuff like that, but good, coming out every single week. And there's stuff to support. There's, go and have a look on Steam, find something that looks interesting, give it a try. You don't like it within 2 hours, refunding. Give some attention.
Sure.
If you think
Yeah.
these AAAs are bullshitting you, go play something by an indie, because there's tons of interesting stuff out there. It's really looking for your attention. Support that.
So let me switch gears a little bit, because I know you've been on YouTube. You've been in esports forever. You've been on YouTube forever, too.
Yeah,
by-
2010 was when I started on the YouTube stuff.
So one of my questions is, what's your opinion on AdBlock?
I mean, it's ultimately there's a few ways to look at it, and you got to be very careful about talking about ad block because
Why?
Because I think people get really militant about it. Like I think if you read forum threads or subreddit threads about whenever a site has bad ads or whatever, you'll see like thousands of people like, this is why I have ad block.
I
ad
more
block everything
specifically,
inside.
ad block on YouTube, I guess.
Ad block on YouTube in particular. It's like,
Yeah.
in theory, the way the system's supposed to work is it's a free video, and if it's free, that means you're the product, right? You as the viewer are the product. You're being, your data is being sold.
Yeah.
You are being sold to. You're not kind of our customer as a viewer. And if you ad block it, you're taking that kind of out of the equation. And really, if Google wasn't backing it with infinite money, YouTube would be dead, you know, as a result of that.
I
kind
guess
of
that's
thing,
why
right?
nobody cares. And what I've always wondered about it is, why do you think that YouTube doesn't stop it? Because surely they could.
I think they could get more aggressive with it, but I think they're afraid that if they get more aggressive with it, it actually raises awareness that ad blocking exists. Like, they're still very reliant.
double-edged.
Yeah, it's like what I was saying earlier about, you know, Battlefront sells 12 million copies, even though hardcore like gamers and people in the industry know it's shit. A bunch of other people just buy it anyway. Like, they'd rather people just didn't know about ad block, and particularly in the mobile space, right? Like, they make a lot of their money now through mobile ads because ad blocking is not prevalent on mobile.
Right.
Whereas, like, you look at a PC audience, it's very prevalent there, but it's less prevalent on, like,
You know,
Mac.
I'm surprised, frankly, by how little people still don't use it. And there is a growing number of people I found of those who intentionally turn ad block off on websites
to
like
support
YouTube.
something that they want to support, and that's great.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
ultimately
important.
though, it is their right to do it. You know, there's nothing illegal about it, and everybody finds ads annoying. What bothers me is that if YouTube was better at directing and targeting ads, they could put shit up there that would actually interest people and not be a massive interference. If content creators don't take the piss, you know, they're not mid-rolling every 5 minutes, they're not shoving ads in people's faces. You know, I think watching a 30-second ad for a 30-minute video is pretty damn fair.
Dude, I'll tell you, we just got cable.
Right.
You know exactly what's going on with that then.
I haven't
Oh
used
my
cable
God.
in 20 years.
Yeah.
I'm watching a late night show, and I swear to fuck, it's an hour long, and you have commercials throughout, 5-minute long blocks of commercials. Then he comes back on. I was watching Jimmy Kimmel.
Yep.
And then he does an integrated ad for Coca-Cola.
Yep.
That's another 2 minutes long. It's just a straight up ad sketch for Coke. And then it goes back to another 5-minute
block of ad.
I'm like, holy fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I think some internet users maybe don't know how good they've got it. You know, and
For sure.
And I think a reasonable amount of advertising to keep content free on the internet is great, because I don't
Absolutely.
think paywalling stuff's the right thing to do.
No,
I
not
think
at
that
all.
you know it's great that people can access this content, and a lot of us have had to resort to other ideas and other ways to make a bit more money, and that's on us. You know, we're responsible for making sure we have multiple revenue streams, so that we're building good, solid businesses. We can't just rely on one income source.
Yeah.
You know, we should get as many as we can, but it would be nice if we could find a middle ground. But the problem is that involves other websites not taking the piss. When you, here's an example, like I went to PC Gamer's website, calling them out right there, on my iPad, right? And the whole screen was covered in a full screen ad that I couldn't get rid of. And then I start scrolling down the page, and it scrolls up to another ad that covers the whole screen.
Yeah.
Like, it's cancerous.
It's like, you did this.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
that's what causes people
Yeah.
to ad block.
Yeah, for
And it bothers the shit out of me.
YouTube is responsible with ads as much as a website like that can be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I use ad block at home. I disable it on YouTube. I do.
Yeah.
And
I got YouTube Red. I thought, you know, that's the best way to, you know, if you offer a service like that, then that's cool. You know, I use that.
Yeah, I have it on one account, and on the other one.
Yeah, on the
I
other
have it
one we
disabled.
don't. But
Yeah, it's not on my StarCraft account, so that reminds me to go back to my main one every time I see an ad. Like, what the hell? What's an ad
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
here?
yeah, Well, I guess my opinion on it is like, it is a bit annoying. I feel like people on the internet in general are just so entitled to free shit now.
I mean, they're used to it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just like
right.
par for the course, where it's like, hey, watch an ad, do anything to support this person who does this for a living. I mean, clearly none of us here are struggling, but in general,
For smaller
There's
content creators, that's a
just-
big deal. You know,
yeah.
that's the difference between being able to do this as a job and not being able to do this as a job. And
yeah.
I think it's just important to focus less on the people that choose to ad block and more on the people who are willing to support you in another way.
Yeah,
because
sure.
let's be honest, you know, someone that buys a T-shirt, that's worth a lot of ads.
That's worth like
you know?
watching.
Yeah.
If you buy one T-shirt, that's worth watching like 10,000 videos.
Exactly.
So-
It literally is. You know, or you know, to use YouTube Red in particular, and I
Yeah.
hope they spread it out to more countries. Like Red is really good for creators. We get a big chunk of change from Red.
Yeah.
and we do really well as a result of that.
That's-
And
yeah.
I just want YouTube to make it a worthwhile service, because if I said to someone, and someone asked me, is YouTube Red worth the money? I'd honestly probably say, no, it's not.
Well,
Like,
for actually one of the best marketing things they could do, and I actually do like the product simply because I get to stream music from it too. I get Google Play Music.
Yes. Yeah,
if
you
you
do
get
get
that service with Amazon or iTunes, Apple would cost $10 a month.
it would, yeah.
That's how much I pay for Red, right? Or is it 15?
No, it's 10.
It's
10. So
Yeah.
it's basically getting it for free. I just cancel iTunes or Amazon for streaming like new albums. Do it there,
Do it
and I
there.
get it all.
Yeah, I mean, I used it for the offline viewing and for the minimized viewing in the background for audio
Yeah.
on like my iPad or whatever. That's great
Yeah.
for just like listening to long videos that are basically
Yeah,
podcasts, which is
totally.
like all of my videos.
Yeah.
So I think it's good for that. The more they can do to make that service more attractive to people, the better, because they could quite literally do away with ads completely on YouTube if they got enough people to sign up to that thing, and everybody would be doing just fine.
Yeah, totally. So you're a critic, obviously, of many things.
Everybody is, right?
Yeah, everybody's a critic. I agree. I myself am critical, maybe overly critical at times. And there's been a couple times you've turned your critical eye towards me or
I
us
have
in
done that,
general,
yeah, totally.
and probably with some measure of fairness as well.
And some measure of not understanding what the fuck I was talking about.
Well, anyway, well, let's start here. One of them, I think, was that you think that we were a drama channel. And so I wonder,
Yeah,
do you still do you think that, and how do you define what a drama channel is?
I don't think I do, honestly. Not anymore, anyway. It was more of like, I have an anecdote for you, right? A few years ago, we went to PAX East, and we got a little hotel suite near the venue, and event was done. We invited everyone over just to, have pizza, have some drinks and stuff like that. And you know what we did? 12 of us, all YouTubers, we all sat down and we watched Vape Nation, and we watched all of your old videos.
Really?
And we were laughing our ass off. My wife had never seen you guys. She watched Vape Nation. She was just in tears.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's really
Thank
cool.
you.
Hilariously funny. And then you compare that to something, a bit later on where you may be talking about, even mentioning like Keemstar by name is like invoking Voldemort, Or you see sort of a channel going in that direction, and you get a little bit worried for them, and you get a bit concerned, like they're crossing over to the drama sphere and like out away from the comedy a little bit. And I think the problem with the drama sphere is that anything feeds it, right? Even mentioning that it exists, like, feeds that particular subset of content on YouTube and makes it stronger. And it's one of the only kinds of content that thrives in negativity like that.
Sure.
It's true.
Like, the only way to really get rid of it is to kind of freeze it out completely. But I get, the thing to note, I suppose, is that the audience for that content's really young, for the most part.
Yeah.
Like to the point where there's not even a crossover more often than not between like your audience and the kind of audience that someone like that would get. You know?
Right.
So I don't think
Well,
that,
yeah.
I think it also comes to like we talk about news, right? We talk about the concept of important news topics that are relevant to people on YouTube, like the difference between what is news and what is drama. Like, what is something that has a wide-ranging effect on the site?
Sure.
What happened with Felix, for instance, had some wide-ranging repercussions for a lot of people.
Right.
Yeah, he's part of the reason the apocalypse happened.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
I don't blame him for the ISIS bit, but
Yeah.
he certainly had a part to play
Yeah.
in a part of that.
Right.
And then when people report on that, well, that's important news. But at what point does it cross over into the territory of being drama?
So
I guess?
how do you categorize drama? Just basically talking about it without adding something interesting that just pulls in views? I mean,
think
how
it
do
was
you characterize it?
The way that I'd define it, the way that I'd split the two in
Yeah.
is drama talks about the person, whereas news talks about an idea.
Okay.
And if you can divorce the idea from the person in a sufficient way, then as far as I'm concerned, that's talking about
That's
the
interesting.
news.
Is that at maybe in some way inherently at terms with like a comedic take on things where sometimes you
I think
have
you
to
can totally do it.
be more you have to be more dramatic oriented in that like you have to talk specifically about like the people,
About the
and
people
who they
involved.
are and the situation of how things tie together, because I feel I mean
you
I'm
got to
just
tip, I think you got to tiptoe around that. It's the concern is rewarding that person who has been a piece of shit with more views and more popularity by having your platform implicitly support them, even if you don't explicitly support them. And that can that's a sort of really sucky thing to look at. And I've looked back at stuff I've done in the past and thought, could I have done that better? Could I have talked about this in a way that divorced that person from the argument?
Yeah.
And sometimes you can. Sometimes it is really hard to do.
Yeah.
I don't think you can talk about someone like Leafy without talking about Leafy.
Yeah, of course.
His content is too tied into who he is as a person.
Maybe
to really
maybe
avoid
you could though, because we could have in that situation you could make a video about that type of genre of videos. I mean, it's possible, but it's interesting to think about it like that.
It's just weird because you gotta, in a way, you have to give the people what they want.
Yeah.
Like, you look at like Content Cop, for example, as drama, because he is all about the person, right?
He is
in a way
person.
because it is more dramatic, it's more watchable, it's more juicy, it's more entertaining, right? It's funnier. So, would you consider that drama, or how would you divorce that? Do you think he does that well?
I mean, I think sometimes he does, but most of the time you're right. He goes straight in on the person. He goes for the jugular in a big way, like it's vicious in many ways. You watch his latest one, and you look at stuff like what he did at the end. The diss track is comedy gold. There's no question about that. And talking about that guy as a person is important in and of itself, because you're talking about an inherently dishonest personality who is consistently lying to people, misleading kids, scamming people, misrepresenting his life in a big way. I think you're never going to be able to completely divorce that from drama, right? But is it justified? I mean, probably, yeah. The guy deserved everything he got, and then some. In that video, he's a piece of shit.
One of the things, like back when drama was really becoming a thing, or something that really bothered me about Leafy and some of his contemporaries, was that they didn't care who they made a video about, right?
No, they didn't.
And then they end up like just shitting on some random 12-year-old kid, and it's like, well, that's fucked up.
Yeah, it is. Like they have no morals, like in that respect. And I think maybe when you get to that point, the only approach is to hit them back as hard, if not harder. Half of me makes me wonder if the kind of person that enjoys that would just revel in that notion. Do they even care who's getting made fun of, even if it's Leafy himself? Does that help him in some way? I don't know. It's hard to know. When you have a really large audience, you've got a responsibility one way or the other. I have responsibility. All of us do.
I agree.
To try and make the site better, to try and encourage a culture that isn't fucking horrible, and to also try and make content that is going to make us all money. It's going to make advertisers happy, but without compromising our creative freedom. That's a real fucking tricky balancing act.
I think one of the problems that happens is when you have a huge channel with a lot of influence, and they don't respect that influence.
Yes.
And that can turn sour.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what fucking T Martin and Pro Syndicate did.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's
my God.
Literally scamming children with gambling.
That was basically, that
and
was
they
like...
got out.
You want to create a stunning website. How it's done.
That was basically, that was like rock bottom.
Well, they didn't. I mean, there's still the court case going on.
No, I think it was. I think I even spoke to. I think it's gone. I think they've been.
As far as I know, there is
dropped.
still a civil case going on, but the FTC ruling came through.
And it dropped, right?
They didn't fine them, but they did impose a bunch of restrictions. Like, apparently, if they ever want to do anything sponsored ever again, they literally have to submit all of this shit in writing to the FTC for like 10 years or some shit.
There was a guy, would even do it though, because they were supposed to do it from the beginning.
It's a good question.
Like who's going to hold their feet to the fire?
Well, hopefully the FTC. I mean, hopefully they've pissed off the FTC enough that they're on their radar now. There's a little guy called Tarmac did a really good video where he analyzed the ruling, and there's actually some quite restrictive shit that has been aimed at both of them. And you would hope that now that the FTC has said you are going to play ball and you are going to do everything by the book, that if they step out of line, if they even fucking breathe wrong, that they come down on them like a ton of bricks.
I hope so. That's what you would assume to happen from the beginning.
That's what you would hope. I mean, I think we all imagined that they got sued for and fined millions and millions of dollars, but that didn't happen.
I think they're totally fine, as I understand it. But
I think they are right now.
Let's circle back to that, because I want to say there was another issue you criticized us for during the apocalypse.
Yeah.
We made a video talking about how like YouTube's changing and we're gonna have to find different ways to make money. We can't make videos like we used to and generate the revenue. And I think you made a video saying that we were.
I didn't make a video.
Or no,
I
it was
think
a podcast.
Yeah, I think it was like a SoundCloud or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, it was just a SoundCloud podcast where you were saying, or what was your point there?
I don't know. I can't remember which bit of that. That was a 45-minute fucking podcast.
Something about that we were, I guess, Our your CPMs were good.
Yeah.
And we never showed our earnings, so you were
Yeah,
like,
that was what it was, and that was like totally fucking wrong of me to do, because it's weird to look at your own data, think, right, well, CPM should in theory be fairly consistent across different regions. So if I'm looking at my data and I'm seeing strong CPMs and I'm seeing a good fill rate, and then you've got a channel that's bigger than mine, that's getting a lot more views than mine, that's getting, you know, very American oriented audience, which is the biggest ad market there is in the world.
yeah.
To imagine that a channel like that could go down as far as it did, and of course now we know that they did this demonetization shit that we didn't know about.
They didn't,
Yeah.
mention
They didn't
it.
even tell us.
They would show that it was completely fine.
Yes, they would. Yeah.
And only till like this month they started showing that it was actually not.
The
monetized.
yellow.
Yeah, and
But-
because I didn't know about that, and nobody did. This is the real fucking problem. Nobody knew about any of this shit,
Yeah.
and YouTube didn't communicate it to people,
Well,
and they're still not doing
basically,
it.
in a span of like 1 week, we went from making about $3 CPM to 25 cents
25
CPM.
cents, yeah.
And like, I mean, in your defense, we didn't show any of the earnings. Just that's generally just something we've
Yeah.
never done for whatever
I don't
reason.
blame you in the slightest for that.
It's like old school etiquette. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, you don't share. I mean, it causes so much drama to even
causes-
share that information.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's no question about it. You know, and I'll cop to it. It was wrong to say that. You know, to bring that into doubt in the first place.
Right.
It was such
Well,
a fucking mess at the time.
I
and it still
mean,
is.
I appreciate you saying that, but again, it's fairly defensible in a way because, and that's part of what was so sinister about what they were doing, because you can have someone like you who you're like, I'm actually having a really good
Everything
month.
seems to be good.
And there were a few people like that. I remember we talked to a
Casey
few of our-
Neistat.
like Casey.
He just thought we were all bitching.
Yeah.
And now, just last month, he's posting on Twitter like, "Fuck YouTube for not monetizing my video."
Yep.
And it's like, man, we've been getting killed out here for a minute.
Yep.
But I guess that segues to my next point, which is that we're both critical people. It's
Sure.
part of our profession and what we do. Have you ever gone hard on someone or something, and later, with distance and retrospect, come to regret it or be like, maybe that was not the right way to approach it?
I mean, honestly, if I look back at a lot of my old stuff, if I could go back and redo a lot of my more negative videos in a way that was less based around the kind of firebrand, almost entertainment pundit kind of style of doing things, and just being a bit more constructive in the negativity, I'd probably do that. Like, I think a lot of my old negative stuff was like over exaggeration of, you know, oh, here's a really bad game, look at how shitty this is, ha ha ha. Like, I could have used that time to look at something that was better, or at least more interesting, right? And you could rag on something and it's entertaining to just rag on it. But it's like, well, what purpose did it serve? No one was going to buy that shitty game in the first place. No one was going to care. And if we did criticize something, did we go too far to try, you know, maybe to make people more interested in watching our videos by being hyperbolic? Yeah, totally. I think, like, the thing I've been considering over the last couple of years is completely killing the cynical Brit brand. Because I don't think it actually represents what we do anymore. I don't think it has for a while. It gives this sort of angry video game nerd vibe, which we're not.
Right.
You know, he was always in it for the comedy.
And that thing is like obviously a shtick, right?
Yeah, it is. You know, it's a persona.
Yeah.
I don't have a persona when it comes to critiquing video games.
Right.
Like, there may have been a bit of one back then, but these days, nah.
Okay.
So I'd love to take a hatchet to some of that old stuff. I really would, and look at it and say, look, if either this game is a waste of time and we just ignore it because no one was going to even care about it. If people only cared about it because I told them to look at how shitty it was, you know?
You feel bad for like the devs, or you just think that it's not a good way to?
I just think
brand
it's a
yourself?
bad way to use an audience's time. Like, I wasted the
It's
audience's time on that
entertaining
stuff.
though.
Yeah, but it's not an entertainment channel, you know? I mean, if that was the purpose
Did
of
they
the
get more
channel-
views? Those
Oh,
videos?
totally. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, of course they did. But I look at it now and, like, I really want to use that channel as a platform at a time where there is over
Promotes
6,000.
the good guys.
Yeah,
instead
or at
of
least the
shitting on-
interesting stuff,
Right,
you know?
right, right.
Because there's 6,000 Steam games coming out this year.
That's unbelievable.
6 fucking
Okay,
thousand,
yeah.
right? And there's a bunch of stuff coming out that no one's even looking at that's good. That's like really good. It might not be perfect, but it's interesting and it's unique and it deserves some support and a spotlight.
Right.
So, particularly over the last few years with the diagnosis and not being able to work as much, it's come really clear into focus that time is a very valuable resource, and not just my time, the time of the viewers. So I should be making something that is useful to them.
Right.
And, poking, kind of doing the entertainment, poking holes in something that's obviously shitty, isn't that? That's not useful.
That's a good point. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a really
I
powerful
definitely
point,
agree.
I think. Yeah, that's cool.
I can see that from the way that we make videos too. Like, are we gonna just find something that's like too obvious? I don't know, and just make a video about it, or really make an effort to find something more interesting?
I mean, you're never going to hit gold every time.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, our goal is to entertain people.
I know it's different, yeah, but still, we
But it's
also have
hard,
the
yeah.
way that we choose what to talk about.
Yeah. It's honestly come to the point where we just don't make that many videos anymore on H3 because I refuse to force myself to react to something that just isn't.
You don't have
Either
a fire for
people
it.
don't
Yeah.
deserve to be made fun of, or it doesn't deserve to be shit on, or it's just not interesting. It's like,
Yeah.
weirdly, sometimes those videos yield good results, but it's like you have to fucking hear it out of you. I want to ask you this question, and forgive
What
me.
you got? Go for it.
The moment that I posted about this on our subreddit, every single question was, "Are traps gay?"
I know where that's going.
Well, hold on. I'll try to take this in a direction you may not expect. I was like, "What the fuck? These people are relentless."
Oh, yeah.
It
they
was
are.
like every single,
Absolutely.
and thanks to our dutiful mods who cleaned it up and removed 99% of Are the Traps Gay. But can you explain what
Explain
happened
why
there?
they're doing that? Yeah, I can totally do that. So we run a little convention in the UK every year called CoxCon. It's started off as a joke. Like Jesse Cox, who's longtime friend, co-host of my podcast, been around forever, went to a show called GemuCon in the UK, and he told his fans, "Hey, come to it. We're gonna do a panel. We're gonna do a meet and greet." It was great. Second year, he gets more involved with them, and he tells people to do it again. Well, turns out the show cancelled, like right before the event was supposed to start, like literally a day before. They didn't have the money. So people were in the UK that spent money on hotels, that spent money on flights. They'd got nothing to do. Jesse felt personally responsible for that because he's endorsed that show. He told people to come to see him. So he's like, I'm gonna make this right. And he took like 300 people to like an arcade and did a bunch of cool stuff on his own dime. And he said, "We're calling this CoxCon now." And that joke became an actual show. And he's like, "Well, I don't get over to UK very often. I really want an opportunity to connect with our UK audience and give them a place where they can meet us and actually spend some real time with us on a pretty small scale, nothing huge." So we made a convention that's like, I think first year was 1,000 tickets, and then we expanded it to 1,500, and that's where we kept it. We could go much bigger than that, but we didn't do it, and we sell out every year. So it has this very small community feel. We know a lot of the people that come every year as a result of that. So third year in, and we have a mix of vendor stuff at the expo floor, panels, signing sessions, all the kind of stuff you usually expect at a convention. And Jesse opens the show, everything's going just fine. There's like pretty much 1,200 people in the auditorium, I think. And he does his little Q&A segment. And some guy stands up and he goes, just kind of out of nowhere, "Jesse, so are traps gay?"
Right.
Jesse has no idea what he's talking about.
I saw the video. He just looked confused.
Yeah.
He didn't look angry or he was just
He had
like,
no
"What?"
idea what this person was talking about. He's like, "What?" And there's like a little bit of nervous laughter around. Like we'd hot mic that audience. You watch some of the other stuff, the audience is loud. Like you'd be able to tell if they were happy. It was a lot of like cringy kind of, what? Kind of laughter going on. And he asks it again. And Jesse sort of palms it off because he's like, he can see people kind of getting visibly uncomfortable. And he just like takes it off on a tangent and that's that.
Okay.
And our staff notices we have quite a few transgender guests that come, like, they've been coming since year one. You know, regular people. They just come to the convention to have a couple of days of no bullshit. You know, to have a nice, friendly time with a group of people that hopefully are all very supportive and
Sure.
generally nice people, right? You know,
That's,
'cause
the
we ha-
that's your convention.
that's the environment we want. It's our
yeah.
convention. That's what we wanted to do. That's why it's a small private event. It's like we're not running PAX here. We're not running RTX. You know, we're not running 20, 30,000 people. Just 1,500. And the staff see there's a lot of noticeably uncomfortable faces. Like there's a girl who's really upset, she's crying. Sucks. And the staff makes the decision, like, what we're going to do about this. Like, we don't know why this guy said this. Is he here to troll the event? Like, is he here just to mess it up for people? Is he here to actually upset people? Or is he just like a giant cringe lord? Like,
My interpretation is that he probably harmlessly was just trying to make a joke that just didn't go over well, right?
yeah, you see, we thought that until, well, and this is obviously something we didn't make public, what we'd heard about, one of the staff had actually overheard this guy at a bar like the night before, because there's a few bars around the hotels that are near the convention center, one's literally in the convention center, and people hang around there the night before and drink a lot. And apparently heard him talking to his friends about his plan to sort of say this. And this had come up later. I'm like, well, you know, we don't know for sure. He may have just said that while he was drunk. We don't know. One way or the other, we have some people who are uncomfortable at the show. Then they don't feel comfortable being here. We need to do something about it. We need to do something about it quick. And we need to do something about it in a way that everybody knows. So the best way we thought to do that was, well, the staff made the decision to get rid of him. And like, well, I could put it out on my Twitter, because I know everybody at this show probably follows my Twitter.
Sure.
It's got the biggest reach out of all of the guests there.
Yeah.
You know, it's the best way to do it without doing, like, we don't want to do a PA announcement or anything.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure we can find the guy and, you know, revoke his pass and stuff without causing a scene, without causing any problems. And that's what we did. I announced it.
Well, I saw your tweet, and I guess a lot of people are saying that you started a witch hunt for this guy.
Yeah, that's nonsense.
I mean,
basically what we asked for, because we didn't have a camera on the guy,
Yeah.
so we didn't know what he looked like.
Yeah.
So what we did was we put out a tweet saying, hey, does anybody know who this person is? Because what we wanted to do was to make sure the staff could go find him
Yeah.
and explain to him why we were removing him,
Right.
and then remove him from the building.
Right.
Like, we never released his name, because of course
Sure.
we would never do that.
Yeah.
I don't even know what his name is.
Right.
I don't even know what it looks like. I had nothing to do with that.
So I guess the crux of it, as I understand, is that a lot of people thought either you started a witch hunt or you overreacted to just a
Yeah.
harmless joke, and I
They
guess
obviously thought that.
a lot of people were like, you should have just brushed it off and moved on.
Yeah, and we could have done that, but there were also people in the audience that were upset. And ultimately,
Sure.
the priority has got to be the safety of the guests. It's got to be the guests being comfortable and happy. We just wanted this small community
Right.
convention where everybody felt safe. So
I found this comment by someone who I guess was offended by the way you reacted to that.
Okay.
And I thought, like, it seems sincere. So I thought it'd be interesting to read this to you and get
Yeah, sure. Go for
your
it.
reaction to it, because it seems like some people who were your fans, for whatever reason, were offended. So I thought maybe
Yeah.
it'd be interesting
All
to try to, like, find a middle ground here between you and these people who are actually upset by this. So here, I'm going to read this comment. Longtime fan of Total Biscuits up until the meltdown over the meme question at CoxCon. Why did he take the joke so seriously? It would have gone so much better for him if he just laughed it off and then made a seemingly unrelated comment about it later, assuming he felt that someone may have seen it as transphobic. Clearly, a huge amount of his fan base, as well as casual observers, think that was poorly handled at best. So just to reiterate, why get so up in arms over a joke? And then he says, anyway, no hostility, man. And he is a fan of yours.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I guess I'd ask him the same question. Why get so up in arms over what we did?
Right.
Ultimately, it seems like none of the people who were actually at the show were upset about how we handled it.
Right.
Like, I know for a fact that people came to me and said that they were not upset, quite the opposite, that they were
Right.
happy that it had been handled that way. And it seems like when you know there's a 4chan brigade and you know there's a bunch of subreddits that are basically dedicated to trolling and you know that they've gone after you on purpose, it's kind of hard to take comments like that sincerely. Like, what would have been the best way to handle it? Well, not putting it out on my Twitter would have probably been a better way to handle it.
Right.
Let's be completely honest about that, you know? Because even if that had been handled in the most diplomatic way possible, which on the ground it was, you know, it was the staff handling it. It had
Sure.
nothing to do with me. I'm not offended by it. I'm not transgender.
Yeah.
But there are people who are and were upset by it.
I mean, from the outside, from the outside, I agree with you. I don't understand why people would get so unless there's something I missed. Because if it's just that one
Not
tweet,
that I know of.
because that one tweet was not really that hostile.
No, it was interesting because I knew there was going to be some sort of backlash.
Sure.
I could see that coming a mile away. You know how the internet is these days.
Yeah.
As that size was quite surprising. You know,
Yeah.
and how long the fact that this is even still getting asked. This happened in like June.
Yeah.
Like I don't even think about it, but apparently some of these guys still think about it, even though they weren't at the event and had no intention of going to the event.
I mean,
probably never would. I'm just not really sure why they're as unhappy as they are. You know, are they so defensive over their meme? I mean, if that's the case, I've kind of got to roll my eyes a little bit at that. You know, and they say, well, our meme isn't offensive. Well, to some people it is, you know?
You know what? I feel like I can absolve. I don't understand the outrage. I mean, you were being
It seems like-
protective. of the
yeah, it
people.
seems like
we're
at the
trying to
end-
be protective
your
of the people who are on the
intentions
show.
were kind. Your
Yeah.
intentions were good, and
Yeah.
it seems so minor. The internet
does
is
seem
so,
minor.
The internet is so annoying
It's
sometimes.
a little strange. You know, if I could go back in time and do that thing again, yeah, I'd remove the guy from the show 100%. Would I put it out on Twitter that we'd done it? Probably not. We'd probably just have tried to reassure people at the show later that had come to us and said they were upset about it.
Yeah.
You know, our concern at the time was this is the first time we've ever had any kind of trouble at CoxCon, and we want to make sure that people feel like this is a fun, friendly
Right,
place,
sure.
and they're not going to have any problems while they're here.
So if let's assume this guy is a genuine, caring, big fan of yours who was like, man,
Sure,
he
let's
didn't,
give him the good faith.
he didn't handle that well. Like I'm upset with the way he handled that. Like, what would you say to him?
I mean, what I'd say to him is that the way that I handled it was an attempt to protect the volunteer staff that made the decision. That could not have handled any of the shit that came their way had they been the ones that were front-facing on it.
Right.
Like, I didn't expect as much of a shitstorm as there was, and there was a shitstorm,
Strange.
but I've dealt with that before, and worse.
Right.
I can handle that. Some guy that just signed on as a volunteer, if they got the both barrels of 4chan, they could not. And me being front-facing on it, despite the fact that it was the whole staff that made the decision, was as an effort to protect them. So, could it have been handled better? I mean, you can always say that in hindsight, right?
Sure.
You know, but ultimately, my priority is that the people that went to the show know that this is going to be a friendly, fun show, and they don't have to worry about that shit. They don't. You know, it's 2 days of getting away from all the bullshit of life on the
Yeah.
internet. You know,
That's
you don't want to
completely
bring
fair.
it into
Yeah,
the
totally.
house. You know? It's
So-
our private show. You know, ultimately we can remove anyone for any reason. There's no free speech argument or anything, despite
No.
the fact that a lot of people tried to make one. You know, even if that was true, it's in the UK. We don't have free speech in the UK. Come on.
So for me, being someone who's very critical too, I feel like with our fans, like having that critical perspective cuts both ways.
Yeah,
When they agree with you, they love you,
sure.
and then once they disagree with you even a little bit, it's like they fucking hate your guts.
Yeah, and they'll do it for a long time too.
Do you experience that? Does that
Oh,
frustrate
yeah,
you?
totally. Yeah, I mean, like when Trump won the election, for instance,
Right.
I was pretty damn upset about it. Like, why? Because I'd been listening to what he'd been saying about healthcare, and I have stage 4 cancer.
Mine.
That's a pretty severe issue for me.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at what he's doing right now, like, oh, look, he's doing exactly what he said he would do. Like,
Yeah.
I had listened to what he said. So the fact that he had got elected, that was like, what the fuck just happened in the world, right? Am I taking crazy pills?
It's-
What's happening?
I've criticized Trump in the past, and it's frustrating because it's like you've watched me for years, you like me, you like my opinions, and it's like this one time you disagree with me, you can't handle it.
Yeah, like that, because...
It's like it's okay to disagree with me here, and let's just move on.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I have to wonder if those people are friends with anybody who doesn't think exactly the same way they do, either politically or about anything, you know? Because if they are, I have to wonder how they manage it when they react
Sure.
that way. I think that people build up in their minds this image of what they think this internet person they watch on a daily basis is, right?
Absolutely,
Who they
yeah.
believe they are. They build them up higher and higher. They build them up bigger and stronger than they ever could be. And when there's a crack in that facade, when finally they say something they don't agree with, or they maybe make a mistake, as they ought to, as everyone is ought to do from time to time.
Sure, of course.
That's it. Like the whole giant golden statue that they built shatters into 1,000 pieces.
Yeah, I think
and they'll
that's right.
never forgive that person for that.
I don't think in real life they have that illusion about the people that they know in real life. It's
No, I
only
don't think so.
on the internet where it's like, because our channel is, I don't, dangerous for a better word. Like, we tend to appeal to both people on the left and the right a lot of times. And so people who are conservative leaning or left leaning, when I say something that cuts against their ideology, because before that they're always like, oh, he's one of us. He's definitely one of us.
That's the thing.
And then they're like, wait, he's not one of us?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's all frickin' tribalism, all of it.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
like you want someone as, you've probably heard this time and again. You should stop talking about politics. Like, you should stay in your lane. That's
Right,
like,
right.
fucking stay.
Stick
Or,
to
or
comedy.
stick to comedy.
Yeah, stick to comedy. Yeah,
I
as if
see
you're not
that
like a registered voter.
Yeah.
As
Every
if you don't
time,
have the rights
yeah.
everyone else does.
Every time, like if I follow Eric Andre and you'll say something about Trump,
It's always
all
number
the
one.
comments are like, stick to comedy.
Stick to this, stick to that.
You dumbass.
Yeah.
It's like,
And
I don't know.
That's people that want you, if you're not part of their team, they want you to shut up because they actually view you as dangerous at that point. And I got a shit ton of that.
I agree. I think a comment like that, if anything, is encouraging and just shows how brittle the opposing
Yeah.
side is, that they just crumble
Yeah,
under
I'm
the
terrified of you.
smallest criticism. Stick to comedy. It's like,
Yeah.
you're fucking commenting on Twitter. What
Yeah.
are your credentials?
Exactly. Well, do you have a degree of any? Do you have a political
Yeah.
science degree? You don't need one. Guess what? You're a voter, just
Yeah.
like everybody else. You're an. Well, probably a lot of these people aren't voting adults.
Yeah, yeah.
Why don't you stay in your lane, you fuck? You're not even
You
old enough
fucking
to vote
12-year-old
yet.
juice box drinking fuck.
Indeed. If your political opinions extend to how good each brand of Capri Sun is,
Yeah.
it comes down to the fact that they want you to shut up because they view you as a threat. That happens to anyone that's in entertainment in particular.
It's quite a shame. I regret it because a lot of times I want to talk openly about opinions I have, but when it comes to politics, it's just not worth it for
It's
me to
not
ever get
worth it.
involved because you get
Oh, yeah.
you cut your audience.
It feels like, especially lately, like it's
just
become so
God,
serious,
so
divisive as
so
hard,
divisive.
It really is. Every time I'll even, I kind of keep a divide. Like, I keep politics out of my videos, and I keep it on Twitter. And if you don't want it, you don't have to follow me on Twitter.
Sure.
I
So-
keep it out of my everything.
Yeah.
That's a good
I
idea.
started keeping it out of
Yeah.
everything, honestly. And at this point, everyone's so divided. It's like, whose fucking mind am I changing? You have every late night show host in the whole fucking country
Hammering
shitting on
on it
Trump
on a nightly basis,
24/7.
yeah.
What am I going to add to that? Like,
Probably nothing. But simultaneously, the risk is that if you don't raise your voice, the people that will end up speaking for you might not be people you want speaking for you.
yeah, I totally agree with that too.
And particularly
Yeah.
on healthcare issues in particular, yeah, you're damn right I'm passionate about it.
Me
as
too.
As I
That-
should be.
My
Yeah.
mom, she recently had her heart failure. She almost died. She got a pacemaker installed. They ripped open her chest. It cost millions of dollars. If what he wants to do passes, she will not be able to get insurance. And I'm going to be faced with the choice of letting my mom die or
Or going
bankrupting
bankruptcy.
myself.
And that ain't a choice. That's the thing people need to understand about healthcare is that when a company has the power of life and death in their hands, that ain't a free market anymore. You don't have any power as a consumer. You got nothing. They
Right.
hold all the cards,
Right.
which is why it's important to look at government's involvement in healthcare and say you need someone as big and scary as the government backing you up. Because if you don't have it, no one else is going to do it. You have no
Sure.
power in and of yourself.
Maybe you could help me, illuminate me, because I'm wondering. Like, I know that, like, generally I'm very left leaning, especially on the issue of healthcare. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I am a fan of Obamacare. It's helped my family a lot personally, and even me and Hila before we were making money.
Yeah.
I know that conservative people and people who are against Obamacare are not bad people. They're good, meaning they mean well and they have good intentions, as we all do as human beings. So I'm just trying to get into their minds of what they think what is it that
What's the
they're
end goal?
accomplishing by just repealing what is existing and saving
I'm not
people.
sure. The whole
That's
It was
what
a
is happening.
Republican
I don't know
plan in
why
the
it's so
first place.
complicated. Why is it so complicated in the States? Everyone else got it figured out already. In Israel, I don't know. You just have healthcare. It's not that complicated.
Most European countries, it's exactly the same. You know, in the UK, at least until lately, because the Conservative government's there is fucking with the NHS.
Really?
But you know, but there's an expectation that you grew up in the UK, you had healthcare. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Like, and they're messing with it in a big way, and that's dangerous. I don't know what the end game is, because you know, you've got to assume at some point that most people are good, well-meaning people.
I
Because if you
do.
don't assume that,
Yeah.
you might as well shoot yourself in the head right now.
But
because
it's
this
true.
world sucks.
It's true. It's
You know?
true. Just because like there's, I mean, the country's almost completely divided. You got 50% Democrats, you got 50% Republicans. These people mean well, and they really, I think, in their hearts and in their intentions are trying to make the country better. But I just don't.
What's their idea?
I don't know.
They don't either.
Well,
I guess I guess
there's a lot to criticize Obamacare, I guess. I
Yeah,
mean,
there is.
even
Sure.
when we had it, it was super expensive.
Yep.
yeah.
And I don't know, you still can't see a doctor, and seeing a doctor is still expensive. I mean, there's a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
But it's better than not having.
That's exactly it. Like, it's a
Insurance.
busted system, and one, it's Romney Care. Like, it was a Republican
Yeah.
plan that was compromised on time and time again just to even get it passed in the first
Right.
place. It's not ideal. It's not even close to ideal, but it's better than nothing. It's better than the medical bankruptcy people were going through before that. It's better than being denied care. If I'd been denied insurance on the basis of a pre-existing condition, I'd be dead now.
My mom too.
There's no question. I'd
Yeah.
be dead. I don't have Obamacare either. I have private health insurance, but I couldn't have got it without the pre-existing
laws.
condition
Yeah.
provision protecting me from being denied it.
Yeah.
Really?
You know? So, and my premium is going to 20% in January. You know,
Well,
But it's still better.
it's still better than dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Everything's better than dying. Like you'll accept anything.
Yeah.
Anything more than that. But I want to know what their damn plan is. You're right. They don't
I
have
think
one.
I think it's just that they're so committed to their philosophy of conservatism, of government non-intervention and free market ideals, right? That they think that the government should never regulate anything, that health insurance should be a free market that dictates itself by competition.
Only
But it's like
actually
you
worked.
said, it's when it comes down to issues of life and death, there's no consumer choice.
There
ceases
is no
to matter.
choice. Exactly.
Yeah.
They can demand whatever they want. They're literally holding a gun to your head and say, pay me this much not to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
You don't have any control, which is why some stuff you need the government for. You know, you want to leave, say, the building of roads to just random companies that just, you know, won't. It's like, oh, well, we all need roads. Like, let someone own the road, and then they could charge you whatever you want for it on the toll. Like the
The-
libertarian ideas of all that kind of stuff. There's some stuff that has to be run by the government.
I feel
they'll
like
make the road take like a really long way, so you have to use their Uber
Yeah, oh,
of
yeah.
their own company to
They'll
go straight
But
to
if
where
you get
it
our
is,
road
if it was
subscription,
private.
Yeah,
you know,
they'll start blowing up neighboring roads and shit. Like, oh god,
Yeah.
my dump truck just
How did
randomly.
that happen? Jeez. yeah.
I think back in the day when the country was smaller, there was less people, small towns, more competition because it wasn't dominated by huge companies whose sole purpose was to make as much money as possible. Then free market made a lot more sense. When you've got like 3 mom and pop stores selling bread and fucking one, you know, it's like cool, that works. But when you've got like 5 insurance companies that are now colluding together,
Of course they are.
you know,
It's the same with the internet. I don't see how people can't look at the way that internet monopolies work in this country and not see that actually that's exactly how other things would go were it allowed to go like that. That's how healthcare would go as well.
Yeah.
It's like where you have the choice of, you can have Time Warner or fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those are your 2 choices.
right?
So
Comcast, aka the Nazi Party reincarnated.
yeah, I mean, I believe that's the technical term for them. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's the Latin.
The
Latin,
National
yeah.
Socialist Party of Comcast.
Yeah, so most people don't know the real name. You know,
Yeah.
it's back in the old Articles of Incorporation.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it's this American frontiersman attitude, you know, and I'm sure that you very much recognize that this idea of American individual independence back from the days of the Wild West, the days of the colonies. Like, other countries never really had that, so they never grew this idea of self-reliance to an extreme.
Sure.
Right.
And it's like, well,
Every-
self-reliance only goes so far these days.
Stand I have a deal for you!
Way you down and gone. Way where you gone? Falling down behind the eyes. Where you gone? In every little way I feel tonight, born against earth and sky. I'm bleeding out my heart until it's dry. Pour it out to